So now we are here, Laura and Henriette. Thank you for participating in this interview about our brand new cross-mentoring program, Great Girls Meet Great Women. And just for starting, for the very beginning, I'd like to summarize the goals. Why do we do this within our Zonta world? So to me, it really relates directly to our vision, to our Zonta vision. So what we do is we want to help women to achieve their full potential, also with this program. And we empower and connect women worldwide with our program. So we have all 6 continents involved and more than 100 women in our program. So we really try to get a bit nearer to our vision while we are enrolling the program. So, and to be a bit more specific, we create mutual learning processes between the mentors and the mentees. We foster empathy, intercultural awareness and competencies, and we focus on future trends. And since we have this whole process, the kickoff and the 2 milestone workshops and the final workshop, we have also the time that we really have learning process relationships that can deepen over time. And since we have those 2 milestone workshops, on the one hand, the opportunity to learn more about intercultural awareness, but also learn more about ourselves, fostering our self-awareness in this mentorship. And then we have the second milestone workshop where we can relate to future trends. So just in a nutshell, a summary for us before we start. Yeah, and then I jump right into the interview and the first question to the 2 of you. Relating to the start of the program, how did you start your mentoring? What was helpful for you in the beginning, and how did you start? Laura, would you like to start?
Oh, would you like me to start?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
It refers to the start of the mentoring.
Oh, yeah.
So how did you start? How did you kick off your mentorship? And what was particularly helpful in the beginning?
Well, what was wonderful, you kicked off the program near the end of the Hamburg, or the beginning of the Hamburg convention. And so I thought it was a perfect match, actually, with Henriette and I. We both are in the same industry, so that helps. And I think the fact that I'm a businesswoman and entrepreneur, I can help in those areas directly. But I think mentorship is extremely important in terms of just personally mentoring women in a workplace, personally, and then in Zonta. I think it's a very important concept and something that we need to follow. So I was very excited, and we started right off talking with each other and kind of starting to talk about what our goals would be as mentor and mentee. So we started right when when they all dispersed. I think you all had a big meeting room there, and then we just focused and got right down to business right away.
Mm-hmm. Henriette, what would you say? How did you start the program?
Yeah, I was at the first meeting where we got to meet each other. Was at the online event at the Zonta convention in Hamburg, because we were both online, and we jumped right in, like the program said, focusing on our goals and what to achieve. And afterwards, we also met like regularly, and we dived right into like more or less the business goals, which were more interesting to me at that time, and how to solve different situations. And yeah, so we got right into it, and it was really fun working together, and I gained a lot of knowledge from Laura's experience, so it was a great start.
Yeah, this sounds really great. And you were talking about content about goals. Would you like to share? I mean, you don't have to share intimate goals, but would you like to share some goals that you are following during the mentorship? Could be professional ones, but could also be kind of more private matters. I'm curious. Would you like to share some of those topics or goals?
Yeah. So as I'm still a young professional, just after my first year of university, starting into my job, I was curious like about how women in technology can prove that they have the ability and the skills compared to the men. So like that was one big goal for me, like to get to know how to react, how other people are evaluating me, or like also how to react in different situations, how to cope with difficulties. And so that was like one big goal. And also with the start of my master's studies right now, I was also asking Laura like which focuses or curricular focus I should choose, like which is also for future goals or like future technologies, which will be ahead in time to focus on. Yeah. So that was mainly the goal, but now we're also focusing on like cultural differences and more personal information. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always both, right?
Yeah.
Nora, what were your goals?
My goals were to make sure that her goals were being met and that I was prepared. We were always prepared for our next meeting, and we set goals each time. But I knew these were the goals because I asked her what she wanted to achieve, and she shared exactly what she just told you. And so that was how we set up. And then we went into more minutia, if you will, each time. Overall, it was being in technology, being a woman in technology, and kind of navigating the office and all that comes with that, because there still are, we all encounter sometimes roadblocks, difficulties being a woman, regardless in whatever profession you choose. And so I was very focused on what she needed. And so I made sure that I addressed those, and I made sure that I was asking if that was answering her questions, and to make sure each session that we had was meaningful and productive.
Thanks a lot. I come back to you later because I'm really curious what you learned from Henriette, because it's always both ways. But you mentioned you're always well organized or well prepared, more or less. How do you prepare your sessions, and how do you organize the whole process?
Well, right off the bat, when we met online during convention, the very first thing is, how often did we want to meet? And so we determined we meet twice a month on Wednesdays. So that was a day that was easy for me, being self-employed, a little more flexibility in my time. But it was also important that it fit into Henriette's schedule, because she's busy like all of us as well. And so we set up our time, the day, and then the very first meeting, we already had decided what we wanted to discuss. And so each meeting that we go into, we high level summarize what we've done, and then what we're going to do the next time we see each other. And there's I like to keep a little flexibility in that, because sometimes things will come up, and small things have come up a couple times that were outside of what we actually kind of, put down on paper, that I think you have to remain flexible, and something comes up. And I think there have been a couple of instances where something came up at work, and we wanted to kind of dive into that and see where she needed to go with that.
Well, I like that. This is pretty organized. So you reshape your goals all the time. You keep a bit of flexibility if new topics come up, and then you have those little summaries, and the frequency is 2 times a month. Yeah. Wow, this is really well organized. So, what would you say, apart from organization, Henriette, what are the critical success factors for mentorship?
Well, I would say, as just Laura said, it's the openness to be flexible on what each person needs that day, and in which mood they are, and but like just in general that you're more or less on the same level when you talk, and you move to a same level, and have topics to talk about. Even if you disagree on some topics, you still are open and make your point, but also listen to the other people's opinion.
Yeah, so it's again, part of the success is evidently attitude, a certain kind of attitude, this openness, and on the other hand, I like also that you mentioned listening, because this is such a power competence. Listening, particularly for leaders, but for everyone probably in the world. So definitely a lot of critical success factors that you mentioned. And from your point of view, and I'm interested to listen to both of you, what so far have you learned from Henriette on the other hand, and Laura from the other hand? What have you learned from each other so far? What would you say?
So should I start?
Yeah, Henriette.
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. As we mentioned, we were talking about like how different people react in certain situations, and Laura told me like in which situations she had been in the past, and how she coped with it and dealt with it. So that was like really helpful in terms of from her life experience. She could tell like these people act in a certain way, and in certain cases you can't really do anything about it, but in certain ways you can change how you behave or how you think about it. Yeah, and it was also every time we met, she always had a point where I would say like, yeah, that's really interesting. I will keep that in mind next time I'll be in this situation. Or like even when we talked about the cultural differences or personal situations, we always like, she always told me something, but she also asked me like, what do you think about it? Do you have any questions open? So she always pays it forward to me, and that's idea I really like. And she like she said, she's paying it forward to me, and so maybe in the future I will pay it to someone else, so the mentorship will go on. So yeah, I really like that idea.
That's a beautiful idea. Beautiful idea that it's you, and then you're the next mentor for the next generation. I like this idea. But Laura, I'm pretty sure that you've already learned a lot from Henriette. So what is it?
Well, to kind of go back to incorporate what my goals were, was to pay forward. And where I'm at in my career, I've been where Henriette is. I always laugh and say we were all young once. And so I see a lot of similarities in the questions and the situations she's approached me about. I've been there. And so it comes quite easily to share with her what I found to be successful and what I've learned over the years. So my goal is obviously to help her move forward and pay it forward. Because I shared with her in the beginning that when I was coming up in business, I don't even know if the word mentor existed. I'm sure it was in the dictionary. However, the concept of helping another person, professionally or personally, that did not exist when I started coming up in my businesses. And so it's something that I've developed and been involved with in the past. And so it's just so great that the young women today have this opportunity to maybe shortcut some of the things that I had to work through and sometimes failed and then had successes. So hopefully, I do hope that my goal of helping her shortcuts some of these issues and she can just get onto it and move forward.
Yeah, so true, so true. So Laura, you and I are probably the same age somehow.
I would guess I might be a tad older than you are, but I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
But nevertheless, I think that from an older point of view, and being some decades older than you, probably, Henriette, I think it's really good to have someone that cares for you in such a mentorship and that shares those insights. And I like the word shortcut in this context, because you don't have to make all of those experiences. You could, but if there's a shortcut that your mentor provides, how helpful is that? So I really like this expression, providing shortcuts. Yeah. So would you recommend the program to other Zontians? What would you say?
Definitely, yeah, I would say because like we've got to know each other better, and we were not only talking about the business goals or the personal goals, but like also what's going on around us and how we perceive certain situations, and even the contact with the other mentees and mentors at the big meetings were extremely helpful and nourishing. So yeah, would definitely recommend it.
I highly recommend it. I think it's been brilliant and long overdue. And I think even expanding the mentoring, and hopefully other Zontians are hearing it possibly into their club or into their district from a Zonta perspective. And so I think it's wonderful. That's when I read it, literally, it took me 1 second to answer the email, and I was like, I'm all in, please let me in.
Yeah.
Because I so believe in it, and I have experience with mentoring in the past. And so I was like, gosh, this is just great. And I think it should be so helpful. It's helpful for myself in terms of sharing my experiences. And, and I've shared this with Henriette at one point, that it's been kind of nice to not be needed, but where what I've been through kind of matters. And then I'm able to share that with a younger woman. And that's meant a lot to me personally, to be able to share my experience, and that it kind of has put a little deeper meaning on it, and the things that I've been through and made it and survived, and I'm still here, that I'm able to share that and that it's appreciated.
Yeah. Oh, I like the way you put that in words. That was really beautiful. Yeah, and I think that apart from the two of you and our mentoring diets in these times, it's so precious to connect women from all over the world, because once you get to know each other, once you get to know other destinies, you soon realize that we have so much more in common than things that separate us. So I think that particularly in these times, we need more of that. Yeah, and with that, I say thank you that you took your time for this interview. And I'm really looking forward to reconnecting in our next workshop. And I'm really curious about the next workshop because we are going to speak about AI, future digital trends, as well as about women in finance. And I will come back from the South by Southwest with fresh tech trends and probably also more knowledge about what happens in different societies in the world. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing you again in the next workshop.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I look forward